I'm going to do kind of a blend of what both of my fellow panelists talked about. I'm going to talk about control and data as well as Cody did, and then also show some amazing pieces. And Anya's, work very beautiful, really nice, and I love some of those key points. So I'm going to do kind of a blend of both, and I have kind of some exciting trends that are really exciting. But let's talk about control first. And what I want to say about control is we have none, right? We are completely lost. The days of Spiegel, it's just gone. The days of Spiegel, you put the catalog in, you printed the catalog. I worked for Donnelly, we printed catalogs.
We printed our catalogs.
So we're both kind of dated and aged, but you have these catalogs and you give them to the customers and they would peruse the catalogs and then they would come into your store and you completely controlled the sales process, the sales dialogue, what was said, what they knew about you, everything. We have completely lost control at this point. And a lot of us are doing customer journey mapping, which is like a really amazing experience to do, but like you should do it with shots of tequila because it gives you a total headache. When you actually sit there and put yourself in your customer's shoes and try to walk through the process that you have, it's really, really humbling. But we do these nice, they're very neat and tidy in terms of this is the process and this is how the customer journey map flows. And we kind of have this wishful thinking that if customers would just follow that process, everything would be so perfect. The reality is it looks more like this, right? They're coming in and out of the process. They may jump in way over there at negotiating and contracting, and they didn't actually go through discovery and awareness. They may do this over several years, right? So it's not necessarily they all kind of follow this and stay in a journey. And the other piece of it is now we have this whole added element of digital, right? That we used to way back. We never had to worry about. And we have these digital natives who are coming in and out of the process and completely driving their own experience. So it does make it a little more challenging. And I have empathy, but you're going to have to get over it because these are our customers. That's how they engage with every brand in their life. That's how we engage with every brand in our life. And we kind of got to get our head around that. So our focus is you got to have killer engaging content. Don't hide it, as Cody said. That's not very helpful, hoarding that content that you just created. We got to offer it every touch point, right? We talked yesterday about the design process and how we kind of relegate it to this little sliver on the journey map. They're designing way back here. They're designing before you ever meet them. They're looking at all of your content. They're already ideating. So you got to offer it every touch point, and you got to do it online, and you got to do it in the retail space. And guess what? Those cannot be disconnected. You can't have one messaging and one set of things online and then a completely different, like, the land that dinosaurs lived in your physical experience. So it's super easy. That's all you have to do. And I can probably stop there. A little spoiler alert. The online experience has to convince them that you are visit worthy. So if your online experience is really crappy and it's really dry and it's black and white images and you don't have immersive content, you just get X'd off. They're not even going to come see you. So the days of hoarding content, which was kind of a strategy for a few years, that's completely gone. And I kind of equate it to dating apps, which I've really never actually been on one. I've been married for a very long time, so I have no idea what these look like. But supposedly, if you swipe right, that means you like what you see, I'm assuming. And I'm looking at you guys, you're all married too. You're like pretending like you don't know either. Anyway, but you're trying to get them to swipe right? And they're scrolling through and they're kind of going that fast, and you're trying to get them to swipe right and put you on the consideration list. So that's our goal. Keep in mind, this is a very scientific study, the attention spans by species. So goldfish, supposedly 9 seconds. Humans, 8 seconds. Now, I actually debunked this. This is actually not true at all. There's a whole study, and Microsoft made all this stuff up, so if you want to go read it. Goldfish actually have like a couple minutes attention span, and they have memories over time, which is quite fascinating. But I still stick with humans are 8 seconds. So that's what you're dealing with. You have just a few seconds to make that first impression, or they're just moving on. They're swiping left on you. So I'm going to talk about, Cody talked about data, and I'm going to talk about data as well, and I have 2 sources of truth. This is an amazing book, if you haven't read it. It's not specific to the home building industry, but it's all about big data and new data. And what it is about is, as humans, if you survey me and ask me questions on my preferences or my lifestyle or anything about anything, I will lie to you, because half the time I'm embarrassed to say anything about me. What doesn't lie is what you search on Google. So when you go in and search, it's amazing because people are truthfully searching on what is interesting to them, and it tells you all kinds of things about that. So it's a great book. It applies to lots of things. We use it in New Home Source because we track for the industry what is consumer sentiment about new homes over time. And we track it because we're kind of an early indicator in the process of what's going to be happening. And it actually doesn't have anything to do with our sites or your sites, just how many people relatively within Google are searching for thousands of new home terms. So we've been able to predict downturns, and we predicted kind of this one that we're in at the moment just by analyzing Google traffic and search. So we're going to talk about that, and I've got some elements around that piece. Our other source of truth is Envision, which has been around for 20 years. 4,000 communities are in it, hundreds of builders are in it, and we watch the data that's in there to understand what's happening. What are builders doing and what are consumers doing? So as we go into this and we talk about the Envision source of truth, this is really exciting to me. For years and years and years, specifically at this conference, John
said I was going to cry about this.
He's so going to cry.
I'm looking forward to weeping.
Yeah, you will be weeping uncontrollably. But every year we're like, okay, manufacturers, you got to get some sexy content. Stop telling us about the wires and the gadgets and all the stuff. Tell us about lifestyle. Tell us about really cool stuff. And builders, you offer this stuff, you need to actually offer it. So for the first time this year, hopefully you can read that. That orange is a little, it's not very legible. But what you see up there is game room, outdoor kitchen, smart home, home automation, architecture. And you got to say that like bark-architecture, right? And it's actually bark-architecture, but only 50% are dogs, the other 50%. Yep, exactly. Or maybe, I don't know, other animals. But these are categories that builders are now putting in the system, because the builders in Envision, you can decide how many categories you want, you can call them whatever you want, you can organize the products however you want, you can organize it by room, you can organize it by category, we don't care. So this is actually what builders are putting in. Now that's pretty exciting.
I'm tearing up.
Are you tearing
you can't
up?
see it. It's just
yeah.
a little one. It's like in the holiday with
maybe
Cameron Diaz.
Maybe you personally have done that. Maybe it's personally. But it is pretty exciting to start to see these be marketed. So we're gonna dive into a few of these, and then we're gonna get into kind of some examples of how you showcase these things. So we'll start with architecture. Everybody say that. Woodside Homes, they do amazing virtual walkthroughs and virtual tours, virtual reality tours of their house. So you can completely walk through the house and you can configure. And guess what? They have a pet den option. So you can walk through, and I don't know how much they charge for it, but I'm sure it's a hefty margin, but you can walk through and pick that option. They also have an optional pet station in the laundry room for kind of showering and bathing your pets, probably not your cats. But again, they've tapped into that emotional need and that desire, and we talked about that yesterday as well. It came up in terms of how people will invest in their pets. I can't remember how much active adults spend,
like 10,000
$10,000 a year or something on their pets because they don't have kids, they have grown kids. So great example there. This is an example of watching Google search trends, and Google never tells you the actual numbers, but they will tell you relative value. What you'll see is in March of 2022, searching for home charging stations just spiked up crazy. You could say it's because there's more electric cars. At that time, gas prices were high. I think it's this. Ford's electric F-150 Lightning pickup truck can fully power an average house for 3 days on a single charge. So that's pretty cool. That's a compelling reason to put a charger in your garage. Now, I think it's just a bunch of men got together and said, we want to buy trucks, and this justifies the fact that I need a new truck, and that's the charger, right? Don't you think?
That's cruel. That's very cruel.
Sounds about right.
Is it cruel? Anya agrees with me.
It's unkind.
We could take a vote, yeah. But anyway, so you just kind of watch these trends, and what's exciting to me is that builders are starting to put charging options in their selections and their opportunities. And again, you may include these. You may be an everything's included builder, you may do packages. Whatever you do, you've got to tell that story. So there's some amazing deeper content around charging stations and why you want to do those. And then builders are getting with the program as well. If you know Brett from Nice, wouldn't you love to work for a company called Nice? Just so he's so nice.
It's a good fit for him.
It is a great fit for him. He's a really nice person. But they are starting to package. They have a ton of products that can get lost in the sea of gadgets, and they're now starting to package them into lifestyle-friendly packages. So manufacturers are getting with the game, builders are getting with the game. Really, really good to see. So I'm going to just walk through some different categories, and some of these are the categories that are not commonly touched, like the kitchens and things like that. So outdoor living, we'll start there. And again, we've got some Google data on smokeless fire pit. Who knew that was a thing? Really exciting. So that's definitely interested. It spiked at the beginning of the pandemic. No surprise there. But we're starting to see builders really get with the program in terms of showcasing outdoor living and having outdoor living categories. So this is a virtual tour. You're walking through, you get to walk outside. Some builders don't do the outside. I would highly encourage the outside because that is such an important part of our lives. But this allows you to go through, you can pan around, you can walk around, you can change it to dusk, flip on the TV. So you get that experience of outdoor living both in the daytime and the nighttime. And then we're going to talk about a little bit tech with smart tags, right? So while we want to show the lifestyle and all that good stuff, we also want to show what is kind of driving this stuff. And it's interesting. So again, another virtual reality tour of a house where you can walk through and you can look at the little hot spots, you can explore, change the scenes, but then you can also click and see the details on the actual product because consumers do care about that. That's really important to them. And then more around what's behind the walls, right? Because there are things that you can't see, but they are important. So this is an example of a virtual tour, virtual reality tour, and I can click and I can see kind of what's back there and I can get more detail if that's of something of interest. But within that same virtual tour, I can actually visualize the magic of flex spaces and different times of day. So you don't have to have different tours for different purposes. So in this case, same room, but it's a den by day, and it's time for movie night. So we're gonna flip our magic switches, and the curtains close, the screen comes down, the lighting changes, and we are ready for movie night. And if we could smell the popcorn, that would help. If we could put smell in, that would be great. But again, it's hard for consumers and our shoppers to visualize this and experience it. They may see it on your floor plan, you may talk about it, you may even have some images, but for them to truly experience, there's just no replacement for that. And then all of this is powered by the industry's own content hub in Envision. So all these manufacturers every night are pumping in their fresh content, obsoleting content that they may be obsoleting, updating content, and they're responsible for the deep, rich, immersive pieces that come together. And what you can do then is actually layer on top of Envision virtual reality or visualizers. So those virtual reality tours that we saw, and this one, you can see I'm going in and I'm configuring, I'm looking at the products, I want to understand more, and if I decide to, I can click on the VR tour, add it to my wish list, or I can go back into Core Envision and do it that way. But the key is it's all integrated, and from a consumer perspective, I can choose my path. I can choose which way do I want to go through personalizing my house. And we talked about being visit worthy, right? So, 63% of homes were actually, an offer was made online before anyone ever visited. And I think that was in 2019. And that's kind of threw people, right? It was kind of like, wow, that's pretty amazing, but not really. When you think about millennials as our largest buying group, they do everything on their phone, and they don't know anything about houses anyway. And if I can do a Matterport tour and I can read the reviews online and all that stuff, I may or may not come see you. I'll come see you later, perhaps. But you guys have retail spaces and you actually do want them to come see you in most cases. But if all you have is the garage of a model home, you're gonna have to do some things to make that compelling because otherwise it'll actually be a negative for you and undo the sale. But there are things that you can think about and things that you consider. that will actually make you more visit worthy. So one is, this is an example of Woodside. They use Envision online, but they do an amazing job of actually carrying that experience through. So everything you see on Envision, everything you see online in pre-sales, as you're designing, all of that, then when you show up for your design appointment, it's seamless. It's all the same branding, all the same messaging, ties together really nicely. So they've done a good job on that. You can do life-size displays, and the price on those are coming down. But imagine if you have a huge life-size display, and we have one in our Experience Center in Austin, if anybody ever wants to come visit and play with all of these things. And imagine your kitchen visualizer or VR tour in life-size display. It means your kitchen would be real size, like the cabinets would be the right size. And it really is an immersive experience. That's a reason to come see you, right? Like that's actually really, really exciting and useful. So those are the things that you can do. Kiosks are really a must. One, we are a self-service economy. We really want to look at things. There's a reason we walk in the model home or Spiegel, if there's any Spiegels around, I don't know. We walk in and they go, "Can I help you?" Just looking. I mean, you walked into a model home, like you didn't get there by accident, right? But you want to explore. You want to, on your time and on your flow, you want to get comfortable. Kiosks are an amazing way to do that. And you can use kiosks as, I'm a customer, I'm just using it myself, or it can be the piece that your salesperson is using to walk through that experience. But you should have kiosks in your model homes, your sales centers, your design centers, again, content flowing through, so it's a very continuous experience. So we'll just take a look at this kiosk.
Take them on a journey. Tell them the story of your community. Let them explore the surrounding area. Use Google Maps to drop in and look around. Let your community shine with the latest in tour and graphic technology. Let them share, compare, spin, and interact with the unique multi-touch interface. Search by model or floor plan. See elevations. Set favorites, all with the touch of a finger. And when the journey is complete, send it directly to their inbox. The SalesMax kiosk from BDX, using the power of touch to change the future of new home sales.
So what you notice is as I was doing all of that, whether I'm doing it by myself or with the salesperson, I get a brochure. You now have a lead. You know who came into the sales center. We don't always know that. This next one is an example of an iPad driver that comes with your virtual reality tour. A lot of times when we think about virtual reality, we think about strapping on the headsets. That's not really the most common use case. Yes, you do have millennials and Gen Zs who like to play with that, but the best use cases, they've come in to see you, you sit them down on the couch with a couple glasses of wine, and you actually drive them through and help them configure their house, right? So you're actually editing and making that happen along the way. And of course, if they want to strap on a headset, they can do that. And if they want to grab the iPad, they can do that too. But again, that's a reason to kind of come in and see you. And yes, they'll see this content online, but there's even more in-depth experience, right? And then I think this is my last one. Don't forget about augmented reality, and sometimes we get confused on the different kinds of reality. We have virtual reality, which is completely fake. Nothing exists. Augmented reality is taking the physical space and then augmenting with virtual. So it's really meant for physically being there. And there's a ton of applications for this, but this is a reason to come see you. So I'm going to just show you this one. All right, so I'm going to cut it off because I think you get the gist. It basically fixes the home on the lot where it will be, and then you walk, it's a fix. You can walk in, you can see out the window what your view is. You just got to be careful you don't step in a hole because you're like watching this thing. But that's a reason to come see you, right? That is a reason. You can have QR codes on the lot signs. Your salespeople can assist, and there's a whole bunch of other augmented reality pieces that will help people want to come see it. So that's what I had. Remember the goal: swipe right, not for dates, but to be found by shoppers.
Great.